I've always had a propensity to do things with my hands. So to be able to create art with plants is something that I never thought I would ever be able to do. I wake up and it's still insane to me. So that keeps me going. Seeing the looks on the faces of my clients when they come back and tell me, hey, I saw you and made this terrarium in your workshop 2 years ago and it's thriving. In fact, I need you to trim it back because it's doing so well, it looks like it's about to bust the lid off of the jar. There's nothing that makes me more happy to hear that, because it means that they can view plants in a different light just as I do as well, and they can share that with their friends, their family, and they usually do.
People like seeing.
I got into terrariums because my COVID hobby was plant keeping. I, as well as everyone else pretty much. And the number one issue that I had was I didn't know when to water, when not to water. And so what I found was I was constantly overwatering my plants, or I was constantly dehydrating them to the point of crispiness. And so I needed a solution. And one day at a local nursery, I was browsing as I would, and I was at my last bit of peace in the regards to plant keeping. And I came upon a terrarium plant section, which piqued my interest into what is a terrarium. And from there, YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video, I learned so many new things about creating such a tiny little world within a glass jar. And since then, I have probably created over hundreds of terrariums now, and each one gets better every time. Each one has its own little story. I try to create little mini dioramas inside so that it really makes its own world in a sense. And I could not see my world any different without terrariums now. So basically, to create a terrarium, you just need to have all the components that you typically would see out in daily life that you usually don't pay attention to, and put them together so that they perfectly balance out and you're able to create a self-sufficient ecosystem with very minimal maintenance, very minimal care, and you can enjoy plants without killing them. We mainly do closed terrariums here, and so you'll need an enclosed glass jar, and that way all the water can consistently recycle itself without escaping the system. You need a nice drainage layer. So in store we have a couple of options. Mainly we use gravel. Sometimes you can use lava rock. It's really up to what you're feeling. The next thing that we would recommend is applying some sphagnum moss, which is basically like nature's sponge. It's great for soil erosion. It is great for holding our water in the terrarium so our plants and our soil can access it when necessary. So we like to have that in there. And then we have our horticultural charcoal. We want our terrarium to smell forest fresh every single time we open it. When you have a consistently moist, closed environment that's not in direct sunlight, fungus, mold, it's just bound to happen. They're opportunistic organisms, and we're providing them an opportunity. So we put the horticultural charcoal in there to try to cut back on that as much as we can. There is always a little bit of mold that might pop up in a new terrarium, but that is okay because you're creating a new world, and our world that we live in today was definitely not created yesterday. A lot of change had to happen for it to balance out, and the same thing goes for your little tiny ecosystem as well. And then of course we need our terrarium soil. That is argumentably the most important aspect of a terrarium. You want to have a good quality terrarium soil. That's where your plants get their nutrition. That's where they get their oxygen. All of the gas exchange is happening in the soil. And so we want to make sure we have a nice, balanced, airy, nutrient-dense soil so that our terrarium can support itself, and we rarely have to add any sort of additive such as a fertilizer to it for it to be successful long-term.
Picked out some plants for you guys and some moss, so you know what plants do well in your terrariums. But to start,
when you come into the shop, there's a couple things we have to offer. We have ready-made terrariums that have been aging happily here on our shelves. So whether you want something that is fit for your personality, a friend's personality, we have a little bit of everything. We have terrarium tools, we have terrarium supplies, we have plants, we have moss. We have the substrates to build terrariums, everything you need. We also have terrarium building in here. We have a terrarium building bar where you can explore our massive selection of glass jars in all sizes and shapes for all skill levels. They're at prices that range greatly, so everyone has access to making a terrarium. For us, it's more so about the experience than really anything else. We also have a really, really cool display of awesome little trinkets, I call them tchotchkes, that you can put into your terrarium and really make it yours. In addition to that, we do have private parties. So we'll do private parties in the store. We'll come to you and do private parties. We do workshops externally to the store, usually at local bars, breweries, coffee shops, you name it. If you want to see us there, you let us know, we'll be there. But the store is really a nice place to come in. If you want to look at things, I'm a looker of things. I love looking at a bunch of things. Please come see us because we have tons of things for you to look at. Plush Moon Terrarium Co. came about at the earlier stages of my terrarium creation journey. My living room pretty much was a museum of terrariums, and my roommate gave me an ultimatum, either you or the terrarium. So I found a market, and I was so surprised by the amount of support, amount of love that my terrariums were getting. And that was back in December of 2021, and now we're here in September of 2024, and I've done so many markets. I've been able to reach so many people. I like to say that I've switched a lot of plant killers to plant winners. And it's just amazing to me to see people provide updates on their terrariums years later. I have clients that will bring their terrariums back to me. And so I really felt like it was important to have a shop so that all of my people could come find me. We can build together. I could see their terrariums. We could really create a community of plant-loving people, with also those that plants do not love them back. So I get a lot of people that say they try to make terrariums at home, they die almost instantly, or they live and then they die. So I wanted to basically offer myself in the sense of knowledge and education so that you could cut through all of those steps and get yourself a very successful and happy terrarium.